morning again in America.
This isn't mom and dad's America anymore. This is Donald Trump's MAGA hellscape, complete with his billionaire crony and a cast of corrupt enablers who are all burning our government to the ground. And too many on our team just don't have the fight we need right now.
That's Jake Rakove, who this week announced a primary challenge to his old boss, 15-term Democratic Congressman Brad Sherman in California's 32nd District.
Fresh off that campaign launch, Jake Rakove joins us here in studio with more. Jake, let's start with the basics. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's have you introduce yourself to voters and why are you running?
Absolutely. My name is Jake Rakove. I am 37 years old. I am a former aide to Congressman Sherman. I was his deputy communications director in his D.C. office in 2017. And I'm running because I think across the country you are seeing this desire for young voters to get more young voices in Congress. We need change. We cannot expect anything to change if we keep sending back the same people decade after decade after decade, because they're legislating like they were back in 1996, and the country's just not there anymore.
So you mentioned that you worked as a deputy communications director for Congressman Sherman, and so what attracted you to working with him in the first place, and why challenge him now?
So I actually got my political start here in Los Angeles in 2012, 2013, working on a mayor's race. And then I went to grad school in DC. And when he was looking for a deputy comms director, I had connections still back here in DC in the press world from my time on the mayor's race. So that definitely wanted me to bring me back to the LA connection. His staff was great. I learned so much from his staff and my boss, who was the comms director at the time. I loved my time on the Hill. But I think right now, seeing him do the exact same thing he was doing 8 years ago in Trump's first term, try the same tactics and outdated methods that didn't work back then, get us nowhere except Trump twice, we have to step up and do something.
We spoke with Congressman Sherman today about your run. Here's part of what he had to say.
You know, I run every 2 years. I always have half a dozen challengers. I have 2 challengers so far, and we're very early in 2025. I love new young Democrats. I want to get them involved. But sometimes the best candidate to represent a district is 25, and sometimes the best candidate to represent a district is 75.
The congressman says it with a smile. Your response?
Yeah, no, that's great that he's welcoming other challengers. I think hasn't had a real challenge since 2012 with the Sherman-Berman fight back then. So I think there's just a different vibe and mood in the party right now. I think the energy I have seen over the last 24 hours since my announcement shows that that's not where the voters are. The voters want a choice right now.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, you know, a different vibe. You're one of a number of young Democrats that are opposing primary fights to, let's say, some of the establishment, if you will, like Brad Sherman, for example, Jan Schakowsky, Nancy Pelosi. These are tough fights, you know. Do you see that this is a possible beginning to a changing of the guard in D.C.?
I think you are starting to see that desire, certainly among the voting population and the activist population. Yes, the ones challenging Nancy Pelosi and Jan Schakowsky over there in Illinois. I think that's the start of it. I think you'll see more people come out. I think the people that have reached out to me and say, thank you, someone's doing this. You've inspired me to challenge someone. Even if it's city council or whatever, I think there's just this desire, especially among the Democratic Party, to take the party back. We saw what happened when President Biden stayed in for too long and didn't really listen to where the party was, the activist voice. So I think at this point they're saying, you know what, we're just going to step up and do our own thing.
Talk about party leadership. If you're elected, would you support Hakeem Jeffries as leader or potentially Speaker of the House in a Democratic Congress? I'll
see who's running, who's in what other candidates step up for it. I certainly will not be a candidate on that dais, so I'll save that vote for whoever's going to be up there.
Okay, so let's talk issues. The big story of today, obviously, the stocks plummeting in the face of President Trump's reciprocal tariffs, your response to the president's actions, and then as we see, you know, empty factories, we see empty factories in the Midwest, or even empty storefronts along Ventura Boulevard. What is something that your district will do for that? What's the approach that you're going to take here?
There's going to be a lot of pain, as we saw. The stock market had its worst day since 2020 during the pandemic. I think there's going to be a lot of pain, a lot of people reshuffling. There's a bipartisan bill in the Senate trying to rein back the tariff power, and Congress is in no place to try and rein in Trump right now. He's going to do what he wants to do. But I think as far as our district and everything, we have to get that small business funding to come back. We have to lower taxes for small business owners and stuff like that and see where we can get that investment back into the community and other grants that we can do to try and open up some of those storefronts in Ventura, like you said.
A big issue in California, of course, immigration. Monthly crossings are near record lows, but we are seeing a number of controversial deportations that are now being litigated. If you're in the House, what policy are you pushing for to secure the border?
I think, yes, we do need to secure the border from bad actors who would come in, however they would want, try and break into our country illegally. But the people who are here, the young families, the kids who've been here, DACA recipients, they have not committed any crimes. They've only been brought here and lived their lives here. They are law-abiding citizens, adding to our economy and our culture. We should not be going after them, attacking them, arresting people on their way to school and deporting them to God knows where without telling anyone. That's completely unconstitutional. So first of all, fix all of that system however we can in Congress and get that back into working. And then secondly, yes, invest in proper security protocols on the border, but making sure we actually protect people who are here legally and benefiting our communities.
Lastly, let's talk about Doge. Elon Musk's team claims that they've already saved the American people $140 billion. Your reaction to that? And also, is there any part of the government that you might be okay with cutting or scaling back?
There is absolutely parts of the government we can streamline and modernize. I think that's what we've seen, that so much of the bureaucracy is just outdated and is done because that's the way it was done for decades. And we haven't really updated that process. So I'm in favor of the actual word efficiency, but their lie of cutting all this trillions of dollars from debt, even though they're actually going to cost us money of bringing in IRS revenues, I'm not on board with.
Before you go, you, like all of us, have watched closely what happened in the Palisades with the fire. You've seen your former boss out on the forefront. When you look at this and you react to it, was there a failure of leadership, and if so, how? And what would you do differently as a member of Congress when you see a disaster like that?
Well, yes. The internal politics of what happened at City Hall, not Congress's jurisdiction, and certainly not mine to discuss right now. But I think we do need to look at ways we can help prevent these things in the future and also help respond to them when they do happen. This is not going to change. Global warming is here. It's only getting worse every year. But we can do things like fire maintenance, fire prevention tactics for houses, covering vents and enclosing eaves and things like that. Congress should pass funding for houses to do that in high danger zones. We should also look at properly regulating the property insurance industry so they aren't canceling policies 2 months before the fire season starts like we saw last year.
We talked about several issues, but when it comes to your heart and your passion, what is the one topic that really resonates with you?
I think, it is going to be about energizing our generation and younger that have not had the opportunities that our parents did. My parents, were fine. I came out of college right after the 2008 financial crisis. I lived through that economy. Congressman Sherman and the older generations don't. It is about getting us the same opportunity, home ownership, affordability, retirement accounts. That's going to be something that our generation won't have the same benefit of like other generations, and I want to see how we can fix that.
Jake Rakob, Democratic candidate for Congress. Good to have you in.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.